Hello everyone, I'm Sharpeter43 once again bringing you all my third attempt at a draft analysis for a Pokemon Draft League. This one's gonna be for the PGL, or Pokemon Global Association. Nah, Pokemon Global League. I'm just kidding. It's actually Pokemon Global League. This is a league that I've been in previous seasons, well, at least for Season 6, but however, you're probably wondering why is it Season 1 then? Well, the reason is that, since the league was under new ownership, because I think it was previously under the ownership of Super Gas, I think, and as of today, it's been under the ownership of Trexel. So Trexel decided to basically, in extent, reboot the league, and I think now it's become like a standard draft league. I don't know. I don't even know what the differences are between draft leagues, honestly, but that's basically the bottom line there. So we're basically doing a new season, basically, or a new season, but also we're going back to Season 1 basically, which is the important thing to know here. So no Season 7, no Season 8, none of that. It's Season 1 again. So yeah, so one of the things that should be noted about this draft league is that once again, for the second league in a row, I actually get the first pick, which is actually really damn crazy, because I got first pick for the ICBA, and that was a lucky break right there. However, I did not think I'd get the same luck in this league as well, and it's very telling because obviously with being the first pick, I get to pick literally whatever I want for tier 1. It can be the most broken mon that anybody else would pick, honestly. So yeah, so with that said, I'm gonna get into the picks right now. The first pick that I made, well, looking at the tiers, looking at the mons in every tier, I wasn't really keen on anything on anything that was in tier 2 or tier 1. Jeez, not tier 2, tier 1. At least yet. I was leaning towards picking Garchomp or Ferrothorn or even Clefable, but I was thinking, why do I have a feeling that these mons are not gonna be taken just yet? So because of that doubt that I had, I was thinking, okay, why don't we pick something that has a very high chance of getting picked very early in the season? This might be an unorthodox pick depending on from which spectrum of the draft league community do you come from. Do you come from the hardcore competitive side, or from the more casual or lenient or average league where it's not as competitive? But my first pick here is going to be Zeraora here. Zeraora is a mon that I saw a lot of potential in, which this is one of the reasons why I picked it for my first round, was just because I felt like this was a mon that was too good, that it might, if I don't pick it, somebody else in this first round is gonna pick it. And I was actually right, because supposedly CrimsonCBAD, after I picked Zeraora, said that he wanted to actually get Zeraora first round. So I was like, ooh boy, then thank goodness I got it, because I see a lot of good things coming from Zeraora. It's a very, very fast mon with 143 speed, relatively powerful with 112 attack, and I think 102 in special attack, I think, which can allow it to be a mixed attacker if anything. But it also has a very good ability in Volt Absorb. It has a powerful move in Plasma Fist as well. It has some decent coverage with close combat, a couple of the elemental punches, and it also has some good utility, such as pivoting options such as Volt Switch. It has knockoff, so you can knock items off, or you can taunt to prevent mons from just taking advantage of your position and trying to set something up, or, you know, keep them at bay, not try to have them go radical or anything like that. So with all that combined, like all of those elements combined, really made Zoroark a very ideal pick for me, at least, because a lot of these things I usually don't have in most of the draft leagues. Like, look at my draft in ICBA. There was a lack of speed and a lack of utility. Like, only specific mons had certain moves, and like, I felt very limited. As much as I liked the draft, how variable, I guess you can say, it was in terms of typing, it still lacked some of the important utility that I needed. And I think Zeraora covers a lot. It ticks a lot of the boxes in what I need for a draft league, at the very least. Now it's only a matter of whether or not I can actually use it effectively. But yeah, that's my first pick. Tier 2, by the way, so yeah, not a tier 1 pick, which is kind of something that I don't think they directly expressed it to me, but I can kind of sense that somebody doesn't seem too keen on this. Like, they think that this is something that only a scrub would like, this is like the kind of pick that only a scrub or amateur would actually do. I don't know about that, honestly, but honestly I don't really care. So like, I just do this because I want to. Like, I saw potential in Zorora, and I figured why not, honestly. I mean, they didn't say like anything negative or anything, but they just gave me an expression that it's like they didn't like that I made that pick. But whatever, who cares? I do what I want, by the way. Anyways, my second tier pick is gonna be Ferrothorn. Now this is a very decent mon. It only has 2 weaknesses as far as I'm aware. It's only weak to fire and fighting. Types that I can actually handle with other mons, that, by the way, so that you'll see later in this draft. But why did I pick Ferrothorn? Well, Ferrothorn is my tier 1 pick, as you can see, and the reason why I picked it was because it's a bulky mon on both sides. Like, it's bulky on the physical and defensive side. It's relatively powerful even when you invest all of the bulk, basically, and nothing on the attack, because its physical attack side is actually pretty decent. That if you hit it with something like Power Whip, if you attack with a move like Power Whip or Gardevoir or something, you're bound to see a lot of damage being dealt with. So yeah, it's a relatively powerful hitter for a bulky mon that has a lot of utility and has a lot of its own strategies to recover a lot too, in the form of Leech Seed and Protect with leftovers, or because of its Iron Bars ability, you can also take advantage of its ability by punishing mons that like to attack on the physical side, by applying Rocky Helmet and having it take not only Iron Bars but also Rocky Helmet damage as well. It also, and this is probably the most important one, it has not only a knockoffing potential, so I have another mon with knockoff, but it also has a mon, it's a mon with Stealth Rocks and Spikes, so it has 2 forms of hazards here, which is good because I really need hazards, especially given what I have with the rest of my draft. I mean, there's gonna be times when I can't even bring it because the matchups kind of don't like allow it, but in most cases you're gonna see me running this most of the time. So yeah, that's my second tier pick, or my second round pick. It's a tier 1 pick. So this was my tier 1 pick in round 2, not in round 1 like in most people's minds they expect, but I have my reasons, obviously. So my tier 3, or my round 3, geez, I keep saying tier, but it's round 3 pick here is gonna be Gliscor. Now Gliscor is kind of in the same lines of Ferrothorn. It's a mon that's bulky. Well, it's mostly bulky on the physical side, but it also has its own level of utility as well. It has all of the Elemental Fangs, which is useful for offensive sets of Gliscor, but on the defensive side, it can run the Toxic Orb, which allows it to recover very decently, like more so than leftovers. And it also has some good utility once again, another knockoff user and another Stealth Rocker, which is really good, because if I can't bring Ferrothorn, I can maybe bring Gliscor and still set up rocks at the very least, or I can bring both Ferrothorn and Gliscor, run Spikes on Ferrothorn and give it like knockoff or something, and then give Stealth Rocks to Gliscor or something like that. Like, I feel like Ferrothorn and Gliscor can kind of go hand in hand with mons like Zorora, as far as I'm aware, or as far as I know, basically, because maybe some people think this is not a good idea. Maybe there's some weaknesses that might be exploited later and will be seen in the battles and whatnot. But so far right now, I am liking the look of Gliscor right now, because Gliscor is relatively fast. It has a decent speed tier in the form of 95, and decent, actually very good defense with 125. Yeah, and again, did I just mention that it has a lot of good coverage? Oh, it also can pivot as well. Unlike Ferrothorn, Gliscor can pivot. It can set up rocks, pivot, or knock off. It has a lot of good utilities, basically, that's what I'm saying. And it's good. It's a good wall, basically. Has recovery, reliable recovery too. That's probably the more important one. So yeah, obviously Gliscor was looking pretty promising. Not to mention, a lot of people have used it pretty effectively in draft format as well. So I was thinking maybe, just maybe I can use it effectively as well, given all that it has. I just need to make sure nothing, well, dumb happens, obviously, in the process. But yeah. That's Gliscor for you. Now here's one that I actually like myself personally. My round 4 pick is going to be a tier 3 mon, and this one is actually going to be Roserade. Roserade is a mon that I used in the PGL the last season that I was in it, and I don't think I brought it to many battles, but whenever it did, it kind of did me it did me a lot of good stuff. Well, except for that 1 week where I think it was against Kaninja, I think it was, where it missed 2 Leaf Storms. I think that was the only disappointment it did, but I think every other week I think that I brought it, which wasn't many, by the way, It always did pretty good. And in DBL, holy cranberries, it did a lot more than I expected, honestly. Hell, it even ended up in the finals as well. Like, this Pokemon actually appeared in the finals of a league. So it's like, I mean, like, so much good stuff can happen from it. And not to mention, I've used Roserade outside of draft format as well, and I always love how it performs. Like, it just has a lot of, it's a powerful mon. It's not the fastest thing alive, but it's definitely powerful enough to kind of like keep a lot of opponents on notice, because Roserade has it has a decent offensive typing in grass and poison. Like, it hits a lot of things with Sludge Bomb really hard, and with Leaf Storm, not a whole lot switches into it either. So that's one of the good things about Roserade, is that not a whole lot switches into Roserade. And this is only in the offensive role. If I wanted to run a more passive role with Roserade, I could just incorporate Leech Seed, or maybe even Hazards. And that's another good thing about Roserade, is that Roserade has Hazards, has its own form of Hazards. And one of them is a new one, actually. Because besides Spikes, which is already covered by Ferrothorn, it can also get Toxic Spikes. So if I wanted to, like, Hazard stack, I could, if I can actually bring Ferrothorn and Gliscor and Roserade, or just Gliscor and Roserade. It really just depends on the sets that I want to run here. But again, Roserade is just a mon that I've always liked, and this is a mon that I like it because of how it looks, and I also like it because of the good things it can do, basically. Again, it's a very powerful mon, and it could be decent on the defensive side despite its defense stat not being that great. Its special defense is pretty decent. Now, you can almost run an Assault Vest set on it if you wanted to, or you can even just run it with Hazards, or you can run it offensive with Hazards and incorporate Sleep Powder as well. So, like, you can put monsters to sleep and then set up Hazards, and you can just get away with a lot with Roserade. Roserade is a pretty tricky opponent, basically, or a tricky kind of mon or element to this draft as well. But yeah, so that's round 4. Yeah, I was about to say tier 4 again. It's because I'm getting rounds and tiers confused, in all honesty. But this is gonna be my round 5 pick now. It's gonna be Slowking. Now, the reason why Slowking and not Slowbro is because I already have a physical wall in Gliscor and potentially even Ferrothorn. And I figured that I don't really have anything to take hits on the special side. So I figured Slowking could be the ideal choice for that, because, like, Slowking can be offensive and run Assault Vest, and with its decent special defense being 110, it can take special hits almost like nothing. Oh, and on top of that, it has the Regenerator ability. So if you take a hit and then just switch out, it'll just shake off any special attacking hit like if it never even took it, honestly. So I figured that, yeah, this could be a very good mon, and it has reliable recovery if Regenerator isn't used, or if Regenerator isn't recovering enough. It has Slack Off. So that's another good thing about Slowking, is that it's a good special wall, and it has reliable recovery. It has decent coverage as well, and you can run it offensively, and it can be a good Trick Room user as well. So there's a lot of potential with Slowking on this draft, I feel. But you know me, I can always be wrong about that. Other than that, I think, like, you can also run it defensively, because there are times when people might want to exploit the fact that Slowking has very, like, not very good defense but good special defense, that people might want to start running physical attackers. You can always throw them off for a loop and just run max defense on Slowking if you really want to take physical hits, and maybe even slap a Rocky Helmet just to annoy the opponents into just not attacking on the physical side and force other options, and then capitalize from there, you know. But anyways, that's Slowbro for you. I'm going to be a little quick with this, because honestly, I noticed that there's some noise in the background, and that tells me that people just are anxious to start screaming in the background. But here we go. Round 6, it's going to be Crobat. Crobat is actually, it's another, and this is kind of an odd pick given that I have a Gliscor, but the reason why I have a Crobat is because Crobat is really fast. Just like Zorora, it's really fast. It's one of the fastest mons in the game, being with a speed of 130. And that's pretty much, I think that's pretty much the only reason I got it, honestly, because it's fast, and I am lacking in speed right now. Like, a lot of the mons that I have right now are kind of slow, with the exception of Zorora. And I figured I need a mon that's fast so that it can outspeed things in the 110 base speed category. Mons like Gliscor, mons like Gengar and Latios and Raichu and all that. Actually, I think Raichu is only, oh no, it's 110, yeah, never mind. It can also outspeed stuff like, what else is 110? Diancie. Yeah, that's another one. Mega Diancie specifically. And yeah, Crobat has various movesets as well. I think that's another reason why I got it, because it can run various sets as well, despite it looking like its move pool can be a bit shallow, but no, not really. It's actually pretty good. It can run a offensive special attacking set if it really wanted to, or an offensive physical set with some decent coverage, actually, believe it or not. And it also is another defogging option, which is another thing I needed. I needed a form of hazard remover. Hazard removal, jeez, not remover. But yeah, and it has reliable recovery as well in Roost. And Crobat, believe it or not, it's actually respectably bulky. Like, it can be offensive, but it's also respectably bulky. Like, it can take hits more likely than other mons can. Like, say, well, actually, I can't say anything right now because none of these mons actually can take hits as well, as badly as Crobat can, because they're all walls. They're all dedicated walls, they seem. Well, except Roserade. But Roserade has some decent special defense. But a lot of Crobat's weaknesses are on the special attacking side, so like electrical moves, psychic moves, ice moves. The only physical threat for Crobat is really the rock moves, which Gliscor is there for. That's another reason why Gliscor and Crobat just seem to have to be in sync with each other, because Crobat's weak to rocks, which Gliscor isn't. It's weak to ice, well, I mean psychic, which Gliscor takes neutrally, and I have Slowking as well. It's weak to ice as well, but that's what I have Slowking for. Like, I feel like even though these picks can be odd, I always see some kind of connection that kind of makes me feel like it's gonna work somehow. I don't know how, but I feel like it's gonna work. I just need to find the ways to make it work, obviously. But Crobat, yeah, Crobat's pretty good. Defogger, very fast mon, can taunt as well if something tries to be funny and set up and whatnot. And it can also take advantage of situations of when switches are made, and it can pivot as well with U-turn, which is another good thing. This could be my fast pivoter, and Gliscor can be my slow pivoter, so that's actually good. And they're both in the forms of U-turn, so I'm not limited to just Volt Switch with Zeraora or anything like that. So I have some decent pivoting options here with Crobat and Gliscor and Zeraora. But yeah, that's Crobat for you. Round 4 is gonna be Meloetta here. Now Meloetta, this mon, I think the reason why I picked it was because, like, it hits really hard when it's regular Meloetta. I think the unpredictability of Meloetta is what got me to wanna draft it this time around, because as regular Meloetta, it can be very powerful on the special attacking side, with moves like Hyper Voice being stabbed by Meloetta. It can hit real hard with Psychic, and since this is a phrase Z move league, we can even run Z move on Meloetta and actually hit hard with Psychic or something. And also, it has a second form, which is the Pyroet form, and that one can actually hit really hard on the physical side. So this thing can run unpredictable sets, and I think that's why I drafted Meloetta, because it's just about as fast as Roserade when it's regular Meloetta, but when it's the other Meloetta, the Pyroet form, it gets a lot more speed, which is another useful thing, because I could use speed in some matchups, honestly, because, you know, there's a lot of mons that are relatively fast that unless you have something that can outspeed them, you're gonna be taking a beating for most of the battles. But aside from that, Meloetta also has decent coverage and a bit of utility. Utility in the form of knockoff, because it can actually knock items off. It can pivot as well with U-turn, because this thing can in fact get U-turn. And because of its Serene Grace ability, it even has the chance to put mons to sleep if it tries to use the Relic Song set, which is really good, because again, another mon with potential to put mons to sleep. Only this time, this one's a little more contingent and kind of relies on luck for it to actually happen. But I usually go into these battles not expecting any luck to go in my favor anyway, so like that would only be it would just be a plus for me if anything. But yeah, and yeah, but other than that, Meloetta has decent coverage as well. Like, it's relatively fast, it has decent coverage, especially on the special side, because it gets stuff like Thunderbolt, it gets stuff like Energy Ball, it gets Dazzling Gleam. It has a lot of coverage that even with the weaknesses that it has, it can kind of get around it just with the coverage alone, honestly. So yeah, and again, it's a powerful hitter. It can take hits very well on the special side. So at least as regular Meloetta, I think the other Meloetta can take it more better on the physical side, but not by a lot compared to the special side or the specially defensive side as regular Meloetta. So I wanted to see if I can take advantage of that as well, and maybe take a couple hits maybe from powerful hitters and then retaliate with a powerful blow in return, especially on a positive matchup. So yeah, that's Meloetta for you. Oh yeah, and did I mention that Meloetta also looks pretty dang good? It's a pretty cool looking mon. It's probably one of my favorite mons in the Generation 5 actually. So yeah, but here we go, round 8 now. Now this is another pick that I made because I felt like I need, like, okay, so I have walls at this point. I have potentially fast mons as well. I figure now let's have something that can be a little bit more tricky, on the tricky side. And I definitely thought Mimikyu can be an ideal one because it has that very obnoxious ability in disguise, which means I can lead with Mimikyu, and if the matchup isn't good, the opponents have to think, do they want to break the disguise or do they have to switch out into something that can deal with Mimikyu? But I can capitalize on that and set up in its face and just start to hit things really hard with Shadow Claw or Play Rough. It has a priority move as well, which is something I don't think I have on any of my mons. Well, Crobat has Quick Attack, but how often am I going to run Quick Attack on Crobat? Not very often, honestly. I think Zorora also has a form of priority in Fake Out and Quick Attack as well, but again, it's not Stab. Mimikyu on the other hand, it's Stab. The move Shadow Sneak is Stab and can really capitalize on it if it sets up Swords Dance actually. It'll be a devastating priority move if anything. So, and believe it or not, Mimikyu can have at least a respectable move pool. Like, besides its dual stab, it also has moves like freaking what was that one move called? Wood Hammer, which can help deal with water type mons if they're too bulky for Mimikyu to handle even after +2. So yeah, if the situation asks for it, yeah, it might actually even run some coverage for the aforementioned. But yeah, I think other than that though, I think, oh, and Mimikyu I think is also faster than most base 95 speed mons, like Gliscor or like Houndoom and all that stuff. So it's relatively fast, and that's another thing I want. Like I want mons that are at least decently fast, but not too fast either, honestly, because that can actually, you know, it can help me in the long run, and it can help me outspeed mons. But there's also that one gimmick where they run maximum slow Mimikyu with Trick Room and maybe even like Will-O-Wisp or something. Oh yeah, and that's another thing, Mimikyu can Will-O-Wisp as well. So if they want to break the disguise with a physical attacker, they might even pay for it with a Will-O-Wisp, honestly. And if I have Swords Dance, ooh, then they're just in trouble, honestly. So yeah, Mimikyu can do a lot, honestly. It's a mon I've never used. Actually, I did briefly use it in the Valhalla League during the playoffs, but I mean, I never got to showcase it because the battle disconnected and whatnot, and I didn't really want to redo the battle anyway, so I just kind of like just never tried doing the battle again, and that was the end of that. But yeah, anyways, digression aside, round 9. Round 9 is going to be Hitmonchan. Now this is another mon along with the Roserade that I actually did use in the PGL for previous seasons, particularly season 6. And I think Hitmonchan has done me well as well, just because it's a very powerful hitting mon, and it has decent coverage as well. It's also, oh, and this is probably the most important one of them all, it is a rapid spinner, which is something I don't have at the moment. I have Crobat and Gliscor as potential hazard removers with Defog, but remember that Defog can remove both sides of hazards. Actually, it does. It's not that it can, it does. And Hitmonchan, on the other hand, with Rapid Spin, can take advantage of me getting my own hazards up and the opponent getting their hazards up, but I can just Rapid Spin with Hitmonchan. And because Hitmonchan is a very powerful hitter, it can definitely scare people into not wanting to just send in their Rapid Spinners or Defoggers themselves to get rid of the hazards. Most Defoggers are flying types, which Hitmonchan has Ice Punch for. So it can punish them with Ice Punch if it really wants to, or Stone Edge, honestly. But yeah, and definitely this is another important element. It also has its own form of priority, and it has several forms of priority. It gets Mach Punch, it gets Vacuum Wave, it gets Bullet Punch, it gets Fake Out. It gets a lot of priority, which is something I definitely need. Oh, and these priority moves, at least most of them, not all of them, but most of them, are in fact boosted by Iron Fist as well. So because they're punching moves essentially. So that's another good thing. So it's kind of like Mimikyu in the sense that it gets some good priority moves, and it can actually get boosted by their ability and whatnot. So yeah, that's Hitmonchan for you. Another mon that I use for the second season now, and it's actually like I'm hoping to do well with it. It can do stuff if the timing is right, obviously. But here's my round 10 pick. Round 10 pick is going to be another familiar face. It's going to be Braviary, but let me be honest with you. The reason why I keep drafting Braviary, I think this is the third league now that I actually draft Braviary. Let me think. Let me think. I used it first in the... I think I first used Braviary in the... I think in the DBL. Yeah, I think in the DBL. I drafted it again for the ICBA as well. And now I'm drafting it here. Yeah, it was only 3 leagues that I used Braviary. But in most cases, in fact, in DBL, I don't think I ever used Braviary at all. But the reason why I like Braviary is because it has that Defiant ability, which kind of discourages Intimidate users from just, you know, coming in and intimidating. Because there's a chance that I can just like double into Braviary and they can switch in whatever Intimidate user they have, and then they just give me the +2 for free like that. And if I'm scarfed and they're slower than me, they're going to be scared away, or they're going to be forced to stay in and see what happens, and what they might get in return might not be what they were hoping for, you know. So yeah, Braviary can be dangerous. That even though I don't use it, it kind of scares people and kind of forces them to prep in different ways. That's kind of why, even though I have not used Braviary very much in the draft format, or yeah, in the draft format at all, like I never used it in DBL, and I think I have yet to use it in ICBA. I feel like this mon can really scare a lot of opponents in terms of prepping, so it's like, why not? It's worked so far, so you know what they say, don't fix what's not broken anyway. So yeah, so Braviary, aside from the Defiant ability, it can also run Sheer Force as well. Like if you don't need the Defiant ability, you can run Sheer Force. Not a whole lot of moves benefit from Sheer Force, but you know, like it's something if it really is necessary or something. And yeah, it's a really powerful hitter. It's faster than Honchkrow as well, so it can outspeed and hit a lot of things really hard. It's kind of like it's in the lines of Roserade in terms of what it does. It's just meant to hit a lot of things real hard and hope that nothing just simply stays in and walls it or something. Yeah, but yeah, here we go. Now this is gonna be my final pick for the DBL, or the PGL, and as you can see, looking at my entire draft so far, I don't have a single Mega Pokemon yet. So what Pokemon am I gonna pick this time around? Well, given that I already got Zorora and Crobat, which are mons that definitely are fast, I was thinking, oh, and Meloetta, which can also potentially be fast as well. I decided this time around I need to pick a mon that I really like, and what better mon to pick that I like that can also be effective if used correctly? Well, it's none other than your boy Mega Sharpedo here. Now, this is a mon that I've been trying to draft in previous leagues, but I don't think I've ever drafted this mon since Valhalla League, because I think Valhalla League was like the last league I actually used Sharpedo in. Yeah, because the only leagues that Sharpedo, like Mega Sharpedo specifically, has ever appeared in has only been in Nacho Gold Digger League and Valhalla League. And the reason why is because in those leagues they actually allow you to carry both regular Sharpedo and Mega Sharpedo, because as soon as you draft Mega Sharpedo, you get both forms of Mega Sharpedo, or both forms of Sharpedo, the regular form and the Mega, and you can abuse the speed boost every single time. You can even get KOs out of regular Sharpedo and then Mega Evolve and then get more KOs with Mega Sharpedo. However, in PGL it's a little different. Like in this case, you're actually required to Mega Evolve instantly, which means you cannot abuse speed boost with Mega Sharpedo here, or yeah, with Mega Sharpedo or with regular Sharpedo, yeah, because that's pretty much how they are in the draft format. I don't know why though, maybe because they deem it too broken or something, but it's really just in this scenario I feel like I have the at least sufficient support for Mega Sharpedo to maybe work. I think I'll admit that I think maybe the only thing that I'm missing here that could have helped honestly is sticky webs, because that could have slowed a lot of mons down. But let me tell you that a lot of the sticky webs users have already been taken, and even then I'm actually liking my draft so far. Like I like what I picked so far, that I kind of couldn't even fit in a sticky webs user if I really wanted to, but that could have helped. But like I just picked Mega Sharpedo this time around just because I wanted to. Mega Lopunny was still, like, even before my last pick, it was still there just for me to like pick it, but I didn't want to go with Mega Lopunny for a 4th time, honestly. Like I always pick Lopunny. I know it's a good mon and it's a fun mon to use as well, but I just wanted to, for once in my lifetime, just use Mega Sharpedo. I did say I was gonna draft it eventually. What better league to draft it in than the first league that I joined that actually requires you to upload your battles. I think this is like the perfect time for me to showcase that I am in fact a proponent of the Pokemon Sharpedo, or Mega Sharpedo in this case. So yeah, but Mega Sharpedo is a pretty decent mon. It has a decent speed tier as well. It's got a speed of 105, which means I will not be able to outspeed things like Latios or something, but that's why I have mons like Zorora or Crobat, which can at least hit the mons really hard, and then have mons like Scar Braviary or Scar Roserade hit them real hard in return, or maybe have Meloetta set up in their faces or something. Zorora can maybe pull off a Z move in the form of Z knockoff or something. I don't know. Like, I feel like there's ways to get around what can actually hinder Sharpedo. And not to mention, Sharpedo also has a very decent priority move in Aqua Jet as well, so it's not super vulnerable now. But and it hits, and did I mention that it gets the strong jaw ability and can hit a lot of mons real hard with its coverage Fang moves. It's stabbing Crunch, which is probably its most deadliest move. Psychic Fangs to deal with those fighting types. Ice Fang to deal with those dragon types, or even flying types. Or it can even handle Tapu Fini with Poison Fang or Poison Jab. Like it can handle a lot of situations, honestly, to say the least. But yeah, and not to mention, did I mention that Sharpedo is just so damn cool looking here? Like, bruh, why haven't I drafted this mon in a long time? Plus, I just love to actually show off what I can do with Sharpedo when I can, obviously, because when I fail, oh boy, I fail so damn hard. But anyways, yeah, that's gonna be my draft for PGL for season 1, by the way, because like I said at the beginning, this is a new, like, this is a fresh start basically from the previous seasons. Like, this is no longer season 8 or whatever. This is gonna be season 1. So, and I'm actually glad that I actually got to join for season 1 for this reboot, honestly, because it actually shows that people in the draft community actually care about someone like myself. Because let me tell you, when I apply for draft leagues, I always feel like the reason I'm never accepted in any of these is because people don't know me, or they literally just don't care about me, or they don't find me to be worth their time. So it's kind of like, for me to be accepted in this league once more, is like, it shows that they care, which is like, it means a lot to me, to say the least. But anyways, once again, that's the whole draft. Now we just gotta get into the battles, which you'll see in a bit afterwards. I think right now, before I upload any PGL battles though, I'm gonna upload a battle from the ICBA, and then from there we can actually go straight into the PGL battles. But nonetheless, thank you all for watching this draft analysis. I think I don't know how I did, honestly, but I mean, if I did, debatably, I mean, it just happens. It's because I'm still not good at with these draft analysis things, honestly. I mean, the only reason I wanted to do it was because the graphics for this draft analysis is pretty dang good, and I wanted to take advantage of it. And also, I mean, I'm kind of doing it as well to kind of like return the favor for being accepted in this league again. Honestly, I wanted to show them that I can do better in terms of presenting my content, not just sitting through the draft analysis and just doing the battles, but I can actually do a draft analysis as well, even if it's not that great. At least I'm putting the effort. Believe me, I really try to actually deliver on these, but you know, there's a lot of inconveniences here at home that kind of, you know, prevent it from happening, but I did it. So once again, thank you all for watching this draft analysis, and hope to catch you guys for the battles now. But for now, just take it easy.